one. And joining us now is a gentleman that I have done shows with previously. Recently got the opportunity to hop on with him and Jacob Mummert, who was with us a few weeks ago on a pregame show via the Colts. This is a voice you'll probably hear more often than you have before, with this being the first time he's been on the podcast. Justin Baurle, executive partner with the Say It Again Network. Justin, how you doing today, man?
I am doing great. It's always a great day to talk about sports. So just another day, really. I mean, it's sunny outside today. Oh man, it's a great day, man.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Before we get into talking about sports, as you mentioned, and the NBA Finals, which just got over this past Sunday, tell us a little bit about the Say It Again Network. Let people know where they can connect with you on social media, the network on social media, and some of the things that have recently surfaced via social media about the network recently.
Yeah. So Say It Again Sports was just a podcast initially. Jacob and I both started this back in March, or I'm sorry, April. And then we got going. We're like, you know what? This is really fun. Let's bring on a couple more people. Let's help them create a podcast. So that's what we did. We created a network in July, and we brought on three podcasts. We did a football, a basketball, and a pop culture podcast. That was great. We were coasting. We were doing our thing. And then all of a sudden, we brought on 3 executive partners to really help Jacob and I expand our brand. They're bringing on all of these other people. Now we have 40 people on our network in a matter of 5 days. And one of those people is Jimmy Smith, the 5-time Pro Bowl wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's got a podcast down in Florida that he's producing now, and that's on our network. So our network it's expanded, Jay, man. It has been a crazy 7 days, 5 days. However, I don't even know how long it's been. All the nights start to wind together now, but we're doing good, and we're so excited to continue to build up on the brand that we created just 3 months ago.
Justin, from the outside, I say the outside because I'm not on the inside of the operation, from the outside looking in and just getting on Twitter, I messaged you one day and you were like, oh, big announcement coming. And I was like, big announcement. And I had no idea this is going to blow up in the way that it has, seeing so many podcasters from around the country. As you said previously, not just sports related, but pop culture. I think you said a board game, and there's other stuff involved with it than just the sports aspect that you and I talk about most of the time, which just shows that this is a thing you love and you enjoy, but it's nice to see that other parts of life can fit into an umbrella under a network, mainly a sports network, but can dive into other areas of life as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're branding the whole non-sports side as the lifestyle side of it. I mean, that's why we dropped the sports. We went just with the Say It Again network that encompassed everything. We could do anything. You get heated on a tweet or in a podcast, and I mean, we both know you can get heated on it on a rant or something. You're like, you know what? I said it before. I can say it again. This is what's happening, and it rolls right off the tongue, and it's just beautiful. But yeah, we're working on bringing a board game podcast, a food and travel podcast, a video game podcast. We have our pop culture podcast. So this is more than just sports. It's really just a giant we want it to be a giant entertainment conglomerate of podcasts and shows and YouTube channels and everything, man. I don't even know how to explain it. Like I'm still at a loss for words of what has happened over the last 7 days. And Jay, if you don't mind me plugging here, you can follow us on all of our social media accounts at the SIA Network. That's the SIA Network. That's on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. I mean, we're on Twitch now. We're on YouTube. So yeah.
I know Justin. And so I can see the look on his face right now. Those of you that are watching via YouTube and seeing like this guy literally at a loss for words. Like it's literally been a whirlwind. I haven't seen it. I'm not firsthand knowledge, like I said, inside the operation, but I do see it from my side. And it's like bam, 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 bam. Not day after day, literally like 5 minutes, then another 15 minutes pass by, then 18 minutes. Like every second I'm on Twitter or I'm on Facebook, somebody else is announcing. Even last night, this is being recorded on Wednesday evening. Even last night after the Titans-Bills game, there was a young lady on the Facebook page going live after the game. Is that something that fans can expect after games where there will be live shows recapping things that just took place?
Yeah, I think so. That's something that we're definitely looking at. And bigger games, Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, the rare Tuesday Night Football game. We're going to have people on there doing recaps of games. We're looking at some network shows, really to preview games even. So there's going to be a lot of different things going on. Anna last night, that's another one of our executive partners. She's a big Titans fan, so this is a big thing for her. And it was It was actually a last minute thing. It was like 10 minutes left in the game. She was like, "Can we go live after the game? Can we talk live?" I'm like, "Yep, I've got it. Here you go. Let's get you going."
Yeah.
So Jacob jumped on there with her and produced that, and yeah. So I would definitely look out for post game stuff here in the future, man. We're gonna have it all.
Yeah, and it's exciting to see it. This a gentleman that I say gentleman myself, where I have a somewhat of a friendship. We talk trash every now and then. I will say this now. Unfortunately, in the fantasy football league, the dynasty league that Justin invited me in this year, I am 0-5. Now, granted, I was a part of those of you that have been here for a while. I was a part of the MTMV Sports Podcast Network. They have their own fantasy football league this year. I'm 5-0 in that league, so I'm not an atrocious fantasy football owner. For some reason, this league has just really been embarrassing to me. But it is kind of ironic that you, Justin, and Jacob are in first place. Not sure how that's worked out, but it's kind of ironic that the leaders of the network of the league are in first place.
I'm in fifth now. I've lost the last two games.
I apologize.
I'm on a 2-game losing streak. I started 3-0. I was in first, then I lost the game. Jacob took over first, and it's just been falling apart here. But I'm running into, the injury issues, the COVID issues. A lot of my players last week even. I had like half my team was a Titans team, and I didn't realize that until it happened. And I was missing Derrick Henry and Corey Davis and AJ Brown and Jonnu Smith. I was just like, oh no, what did I do to myself? But they're back, so it's great. So hopefully I can get back into some winning ways. But yeah, man, you gotta. I don't know. Even the team that didn't pay attention for 4 weeks and didn't change his lineup, he won a game. So hey, you gotta get winning, man.
Dude, so going into, like I told you, going into Tuesday morning, I'm like, okay, cool. I got this one in the bag. Want to finally win the game, get on the right track. And then it's morning when it came out, I was like, hey, the records are wrong. He's like, no, the placement's wrong. Your record's correct. I was like, what is this? I can't win. I can't win for anything. But hopefully, Justin, I get my winning ways soon, man. Something's got to change, man.
I mean, all you got to do is win like the next 9 games and you could be in the playoffs. I don't know how many games we actually play. I should probably know that as the commissioner of the league, how many games we play. But I mean, you got like 8 or 9 more games. If you just win out, you can still make the playoffs and win it. So
as my man Kevin Garnett said, anything is possible. Speaking of basketball, anything being possible, going into the NBA Finals, the Heat believed anything is possible. After Jimmy Butler had a 40-point triple-double, they believed anything is possible. And then we were reminded quickly, one team, as I have said all postseason long, one team has LeBron James, the other team does not. No, I am not saying that as a LeBron James homer. I am saying currently in the NBA, with the way that series was going and the teams that he was going to play, LeBron was going to try to find a way, and he found a way to overcome the obstacle, whichever one was in front of him, to become victorious. Going into the finals, what were your expectations, and then how did those get? Were you right or wrong as the series progressed?
I was wrong, actually. I'll admit it. I was wrong. I said the Lakers in 4, and then right before game 1, I was like, you know what? Jimmy's going to get 1. I'll give them 1, but once they win 1, LeBron's going to finish it. And Jimmy did win 1, and then he won 2, and I was like, oh no, this is not good. But as I was right, I mean, LeBron finished it. Like you said, one team has LeBron James, one team didn't. And I think we all knew going in the bubble, there was going to be one team that was going to win this, and it was going to be the Lakers. It had to be the Lakers. And when they put on the Black Mamba jerseys for game 5, I was like, oh, this is locked in the bag. I don't even need to watch this game. And then they lost. Like, Danny Green, what are you doing, man? Like, you're paid to make that shot. Like, this is the shot that makes you historic. This is your John Paxson, Steve Kerr moment, and you miss it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that after that shot, after he missed that he had to talk to his wife because I think she received death threats. And I'm like, what are you guys doing?
It's unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate. Danny Green, a 3-point shooter, 3-and-D guy, but it's clear he's not the guy that he was when he first came into the league, and then there in San Antonio, he's not that same player, and he misses a lot of shots that he used to make consistently. People quickly forget a few seconds later after that shot, whatever in the world was going through Markieff Morris's head, he had a J.R. Smith moment. I don't know where he was. I don't know what kind of shot pass, throwing the ball away that was. Like, I don't understand that. But for me, going into the series, I did believe that the Lakers are going to win. But verbalizing it with someone we're going to ask me, I would say I can't root for LeBron James. That's the Indiana guy in me. I'm personally for sports fan, but also there's other things involved with that as well that I cannot root for LeBron James. But instead of saying I think the Heat are going to win, it's literally I can't root for LeBron James. That's also partly me saying I understand the kind of team the Lakers have. I understand the kind of adjustments Frank Vogel can or does make in game, especially with lineups, starting Caruso during game 6, and then all of a sudden they get out to a 30-point lead, and it's like, this is over. This is a route early on in the game. So that's part of it, but I literally can't root for LeBron James for many reasons. Justin, you may understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah, no, I really do. LeBron is one of those weird ones where it's been an emotional roller coaster for me. So when he was in Cleveland, it was like, okay, cool. He's like 19 years old and doing really well. And then he goes to Miami, and I'm like, no, I'm done with LeBron. Like, screw LeBron, Indiana Pacers all the way. He goes back to Cleveland. I'm like, okay, like, he wants to go win one for his hometown. That's cool. Then he goes to the Lakers. I'm like, I mean, you're really following. What are you doing here? And then he goes and wins this. I'm like, okay, great. Like, this adds to your legacy. Cool. You're the only player in NBA history to win 3 with 3 different teams. Now, you might have saw this on Twitter, and I've gotten a lot of flack for it, but I would love to see him win a 4th one with a 4th team, or a 5th one with a 4th team, I guess I should say. And if he can come to Indiana and win an NBA Finals and an NBA title, then I will mark him as the GOAT, because if you can come to Indiana and win a title, then you truly are something special.
Justin, I got a few comments quickly about that. One, I don't know how I would feel with LeBron James coming to the Pacers. 2, I don't believe that the Pacers would, 1, pay LeBron James the money that they want. 2, that they would construct a team the way that he wants to construct it, because you have to be a GM that falls under his umbrella, because LeBron can't play with any old team. And then 3, I don't believe they'll bring in a coach that would work with LeBron James. Now, I didn't personally think that Frank Vogel would work with LeBron, but I think LeBron had mad respect for Vogel based off the 3 series, 2011, I think. 2012, 13, and 14 possibly. Yeah. Second round, then Eastern Conference Finals back-to-back years, the Heat and Pacers battles. I think LeBron had mad respect for Vogel at that time and believed that Vogel had learned a lot over the time period from then until now as a head coach. He said, this can make sense. But yeah. I don't know, man. I know myself. I know my family. I know my friends. I don't know how I feel. I know it would, man. They wouldn't want to pay him. We can start right there. They don't want to pay Oladipo, and we know they don't want to pay LeBron.
No, I mean, you're right. I'm not saying this is any way possible, but yeah, no, they're not going to pay him, obviously. But if he could, it doesn't even have to be Indiana. If he could go to another small market team that doesn't really have the same kind of hype as, LA, Miami, and now Cleveland, it makes it really hard to say he's not the best. And I really think Michael's the best. I think Kobe's better, but it would make it really, really difficult to say that he's not, especially since he just creamed the entire Western Conference.
He did.
And I wasn't planning, but
yeah, I wasn't planning on going this route because I was trying to say more to current series, but you kind of opened the door. I won't go the Kobe Bryant route because I have my own thought. I'm with you on the whole Michael Kobe thing. So we'll just discuss the first one. What sets Michael Jordan apart from LeBron James?
I think it's just all of his titles are with one team. His entire existence is with one team. Yes, I know he played for the Wizards. That's not lost on me. But his entire real basketball career has been with one team, which is great. He came to a team that was literally garbage. Yes, I know he went and got Scottie, they brought in Scottie Pippen and other players to help him, just like LeBron has. But Michael had to be that guy that, was the only player, and he wanted the ball in his hands all the time. And then when he transitioned to the triangle offense and the ball didn't have to be in his hands, that's what made him transcendent. And that's what really got him there. We're not talking about game 7s in the finals. We're talking about 6 NBA finals, 2 3-peats. That puts a huge toll on your body. I mean, LeBron hasn't gotten a 3-peat yet. Yes, he's been to 10 NBA finals, but he hasn't gotten a 3-peat. But I don't know. It's really weird. I didn't feel this way about Michael. I was just like, oh, he's good. But then The Last Dance came out, and that's where I'm just like, no, Michael's a special human being.
And with that being in mind, with that statement about The Last Dance, that could also be a thing where someone can make a documentary about Kobe. Hopefully it's not a feel-good story, but it could have the feel-good aspect because unfortunately he's no longer here. You could make one about Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, LeBron James. I mean, there's players you could make those about where it could have the same type of appeal to many people. But Michael Jordan was transcendent. I've never known a basketball player to sell out a football a football stadium like Michael Jordan. The only person I know that has done that, it's just weird because I'm an Indiana high school guy, not really a nerd as like the older guys are, but I do know a lot of stuff. You may have heard of the name Damon Bailey. Back in the late 80s, early 90s. He had the highest, his state championship in 1991 had 41,000 people at the RCA Dome, which is still the highest attended high school basketball event ever in the country. So that's the one that I go back to. It's like, wait, Jay, you going back to a high school? Well, before Michael Jordan, I had never known a cat to sell out a football stadium like that in a regular season game or a game in general. Now, Damon Bailey was in the state championship, Michael Jordan regular season in Atlanta, but still, it's like Michael Jordan. I said it during the last dance, and I was talking about it on my podcast. I'll say it again now. Michael Jordan is just different, like different in ways that we can't describe. We can describe Kobe. We can describe LeBron, Magic, Kareem, and all these other greats. There are not words to describe Michael Jordan and how great of a basketball player that he was.
Yeah. No, and he did that on the road too. That's the thing. So like he did that on the road 14 years into his career. I mean, he did this in 98. So that tells you how good he was. I mean, this isn't like he sold out Soldier Field or something like that. He went on the road into Atlanta in 98 when he came into the league in 84. So that's special. That's truly special. And maybe that'll happen with LeBron when he goes to retire too. But until that happens,
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm curious though, because I was looking at this earlier today, and there's been a lot of talk about the NBA Finals ratings. Why have they been bad? And I don't know if people have actually gone back and looked at the history of Nielsen ratings and how they have been when they started taking the ratings, the dip and how, there's a dip from game 1 to game 2, the trend, if that's a trend or if it's not. And I haven't really gone deep into this just yet. I plan on doing that next week or the week after, as far as looking at the ratings and seeing maybe, I don't know. I personally don't know the reason behind it, but do you know why, or do you have a thought about why the ratings were lower? And I'm not trying to pick sides. Trust me, when I say this, guys, I'm not trying to pick sides. I'm not trying to go on one side or the other. This is me just curiosity being like, what possibly led to the ratings dip that we saw?
We're much later into the year. Usually by the NBA, when the NBA Finals comes up, it's in the summer, it's in June or end of May or whatever. The NFL is not around yet. Now the NFL comes around, and I trust me, the NBA does everything marketing wise perfect. Like I think they do better things than the NFL does. But when it comes to, sitting down and watching something, somebody's going to go watch an NFL game rather than an NBA game. To me, if it was Sunday Night Football or Game 7 of the NBA Finals, I'd go watch Sunday Night Football. That's just me, though. And I think that's the majority of watchers. I mean, once you that's the whole thing with the whole COVID thing is like the NHL, the Stanley Cup was on. Mm-hmm. You got MLB playoffs. You got the NBA Finals, and you have the NFL season. Like everything's here. Great. We have so much sports now that we haven't had for 7 months, 6 months or whatever. There's only so many viewers though.
Yeah.
That's the thing is if you have all of these people that even watch all 4 sports, there's only so many viewers to continue watching all 4 sports. So you're getting split up into what they actually care about the most. And if this is June, yes, I'd be watching Game 7 of the NBA Finals or Game 6 or Game 5, whatever, even Game 1. But it's October. I think that's a big factor, is that it's October. Not many bars are open to go sit and watch a game.
Very true.
So you're not watching with your friends. You're not having these big events to watch games and everything. COVID's kind of screwed it all up, to be honest with you. So I really do think it's the time of the year factors into it. Also, maybe the fact that there's no actual real fans, so you don't have as much hype level. Like you're not watching, just imagine going back to the Warriors Cavs and, Kyrie hits the game winner and then the crowd goes electric, or any of the game winning shots or go ahead leading shots. The crowd goes nuts. And then you're just sitting in front of your TV going yes, you're so excited and you're pumped for it. There's none of that. So less people are going to watch because you don't get that same kind of hype. I mean, virtual fans only give you so much.
That is true. And honestly, what you say about the fan aspect, And I read an article, or it was pretty part of an article that I stopped because it was stupidity. The argument was dumb. I'll talk about the argument quickly. They went back to the 1998 finals, Michael Jordan's last year, the highest rated finals ever. I'm like, you can't go there when you go to the height of Michael Jordan's last game. I remember Bob Costas before the game talking about how big this game was because Michael Jordan's last game as a Bull, because it was almost a foregone conclusion he wasn't coming back. So you have that. You have Michael Jordan. We just talked about how he sold out on a football stadium on the road 14 years after he came into the league. So you have all that stuff. You have the Jazz. They had just I think they may have won game 5. And then you also have Karl Malone, John Stockton, Jerry Sloan. You have all these guys that were battles that were going to battle Michael Jordan. So of course the entire country is going to play. Also going to watch it. Also remember this time as well, it's baseball season, but I don't think Sammy Sosa went on the run that he did with home runs until later. And even people in Chicago, Sammy Sosa was an icon to some people, not many, some people. He ain't Michael Jordan. There is no way at all. Yeah. Sammy Sosa or Mike McGwire, anything in baseball, Ken Griffey Jr. ain't Michael Jordan. So that's an aspect. That's why I stopped reading the article. I'm like, this is dumb. This is idiotic. But as I have watched, and you talked about this briefly, as I have watched sports, me personally, watched, say, college football, no fans in some stadiums, NFL, your baseball, your hockey. Honestly, the NBA looks the worst out of all of them. NHL is still in a stadium, but there's no fans, so it still looks somewhat real like you're normally used to. Major League Baseball still in your regular stadiums until the postseason. They're in a bubble, but they're still in a traditional baseball stadium, so it looks real. College football, NFL still playing in your regular stadiums, doing travel to a degree. Now I know travel's altered, but they're still traveling from their home to an away field. Excuse me. Now you go to the NBA. I'm not knocking what happened with the bubble. I think what they did was wise and took a lot of foresight and it took a lot of planning. I think it was a 100+ page memo about like every single guideline, every single step along the way. But it did look different, and I do think that hindered part of the viewership and part of the way people viewed the games. And I know even during the series, like after game 2, you're like, this is over. Like there's, I think Lakers were up 2-1. When you're like, okay, cool, like. A little injury, okay, cool. They got LeBron James. Even though you take AD and LeBron off the Lakers, they're not the same caliber team at all. They probably don't make the playoffs. But that's the way I talked about earlier. Like LeBron's teams are constructed and made up different than others. But man, the whole arena thing was a little weird as far as I think that affected the ratings. But man, this series though, if you look at the series back to back, game after game, regardless of ratings, regardless of stuff about Michael Jordan, LeBron debate. There was intrigue, there was drama, there were injuries, there were coaching battles. We had Spoelstra crying at the end of Game 6 after he lost. What will be some major things you'll take away from this particular NBA Finals or even the season as a whole?
I think the major thing really to take out of this entire season is that the Heat are going to be legitimate. Like this team is going to be insane, especially if they continue to build up on them. And Jimmy Butler really brings up, Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero. That's going to be a nightmare for a lot of teams in the East. And I hate to say it, but like, oh man, now we got to worry about the Heat again. But that was big. I don't really knock the NBA too much on their whole like aspect, like the bubble and everything that they did, because 170 games and 0 COVID, like they got rid of COVID in the bubble. Like it did not exist anymore. There was a little hiccup at the very beginning, but they locked that stuff down and it was no more. But you look at the NFL and you see the Tennessee Titans, and now you got Cam Newton and Stephon Gilmore, and you go to college football, and Florida's game just got postponed because there's a outbreak on their team, and now Nick Saban has COVID, and it's harder to do the bubble with college sports and with the more professional sports like the NFL and stuff, but the bubble worked. I mean, that's the real thing, is the bubble worked. But yeah, if I had to pick one thing that came out of this entire bubble series, is that the Heat are going to be legitimate. And Dame's a monster sometimes.
Oh, he is, man. It seemed like that was like 5 years ago. That was just like a couple months ago when Dame went off. What about the Lakers? Because the Lakers are a team where you're expecting a LeBron James team to repeat. Well, a lot of people are expecting LeBron James to get back to repeat, all of that stuff. But you also have to factor in there's going to be contracts. There's going to be, now, I don't know the entire contract situation. I don't know who's up, who had a contract year, all of that stuff. I don't know where AD is or LeBron as far as their contract, if this is their player option year. I don't know about any of that stuff. I know the season may be coming up very, very quickly. And I say quickly, I mean, this is the middle of October. Season may come January, mid-January, could come in March. I truly don't know because I don't believe Adam Silver has a definite, he has a few ideas possibly, but has a definite as far as where things are going to go for next season. But what about the Lakers going into next season as far as what they're projected from the way you see things? Because they got a lot of pieces. They're not the youngest team. And who says JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard are able to play next season? And Anthony Davis stays healthy next season. LeBron James plays at this level next season. I mean, there's a lot of factors with this team, Justin, that factor into how they might be next year.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, this team is aging. It's not like this is a very, very young team. They traded away most of their young assets to get AD, including draft picks and some key players that are turning out to be really good on the Pelicans. So if this team can transition to turning LeBron into that mentor role and really mentoring Kyle Kuzma into becoming the next, LeBron on the team, I could see them working well. But LeBron's going to be 36 next season, and he's been in the league since he was 18. So half of his lifetime is going to be already like in the NBA. At what point does he start going down? I mean, he's the highest paid person on that player next to Anthony Davis, who makes 11 million less than him. Anthony Davis is 27, which in the NBA is youngish.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the NFL where you hit 30 and like all of a sudden you just decline for the rest of your career. But I mean, Anthony Davis is young. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's going to finish off as a Laker. He's spent his entire last 3 years trying to get to the Lakers, and he finally got there. But the rest of this team, I mean, Danny Green's not young. JaVale McGee's not young. Rajon Rondo's not young. So they're really going to have to focus this next year on playing at the same level and mentoring these younger guys into being, stronger players. Because, I mean, eventually LeBron can't play 40 minutes a game.
Yeah, I think about LeBron, think about Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, Tom Brady. Now, no different sports, but you're still having guys that have played in the league. A lot of those guys, football-wise, that I just mentioned, they've played in the league. They're over 40 years old, and you don't normally see 40-year-old quarterbacks play at this level. Now, I understand it's a new age. Health is different. Nutrition is different. Workouts are different. Now, I understand there's a lot of factors factoring into the football players, LeBron James, and other players that are playing later into their careers. We saw Jason Kidd once he got 38, 39, 40, great point guard, Hall of Famer. We get all that stuff. But Jason Kidd was not that guy. It's just a random name that came into my head only because he's on the coaching staff. I'm not trying to pick he's on LeBron's level. I'm not going that far, but we even saw Kobe Bryant as he later got into his career. Another guy that came in right out of high school. Kobe Bryant had an injury, and he wasn't the same after that. Now, granted, he did go out with a 60-point banger, who I don't think anybody could have. Dude, I could have imagined that. But Kobe did do that. Kobe does special things, but you got to factor in the body, the wear and tear. I know LeBron possibly wants to play until Bronny comes into the league, and if Bronny gets that far, because there's a lot of life to play for Bronny in high school before possibly being able to go into the NBA. I know LeBron may want to do that. He wants to be the first to do a lot of things. But once you get that 34, 35, 36, your body changes. Your body's like, hold on, youngster, hold on now. I'm knocking at you. You got to come on home. You got kids at home. We all saw LeBron's daughter, Zuri, has a house in the backyard. Now, I don't know if that's I watched the video. Zuri has her house. Excuse me, she's a kid in school, in elementary school. She has a house. And LeBron's like, are you doing school are you on break from school? She's like, yeah. He just starts laughing. I'm like, it's nice to have that kind of money. But at some point, your body's going to want to say, break down, come on home. And also, you want to be able to play with your kids like you do now and spend more time with the kids. And I'm sure as a dad, Justin, and from LeBron's aspect, he's probably factoring all of these things in.
Yeah, no, I mean, Bronny is a sophomore in high school right now.
Sophomore.
He's at least minimum 2 years, at least probably 3 to 4 years, depending on if, they decide that 18-year-olds can go straight in the NBA from high school. That's going to put him at 38, 39. I mean, we're talking about Vince Carter now. Vince Carter was in the league for literally ever and just finally left. Can LeBron do it? I feel like of all the players on the Lakers, LeBron would be the guy to do it because the way he keeps his body in shape. But dude, I'm 7 years younger than him and my body is breaking down. I played soccer last weekend for the first time, and like 10 years. And my body was just like, oh, the next morning I was like, no, you can't do that anymore, man. Like, yeah, I think it would be really cool to see LeBron and Bronny both like in the league together.
Yeah.
But I mean, LeBron does a lot of things for the first time ever in NBA history. So why not this?
Yeah,
Truthfully,
very true.
why not?
Very true. Justin, this has been fun. Kept it a little bit longer than I had expected, but you and I tend to talk a lot. Do you have any lasting comments? I know we talked a little bit about the Heat projections for next year and the Lakers as well. Do you have any lasting comments? NBA Finals, NBA season, the bubble, life, anything? Nick Saban, you already mentioned him. Do you have any lasting comments before we wrap this thing up?
I'm gonna call this way too early, like way too early. I think it's gonna be the Heat versus Nuggets next year in the finals. Record that today.
Yeah, I told somebody, and I may clip that out and then save it for a later day. I told somebody that during the playoffs, I said the Nuggets have been climbing quickly, slowly climbing and crawling to this spot in the Western Conference, and they're finally almost there. The 09 Nuggets, I believe, was the J.R. Smith, I think Carmelo. Anthony Allen Iverson. I think that was that squad who did the same thing, but they ran into Kobe Bryant. I think that this team may go a little bit further if they stay healthy. And seriously, they were aided by the break with COVID because you saw a big boy lost a bunch of weight and he was playing like a different kind of player, still efficient. So it's possible. It's possible. I will find a way to clip that out. I know ways to get that done, or I may utilize you to do it. No, just joking. I can do it myself, but no, that's very, very possible. Justin, one more time, let people know where they can catch you on social media, and then also the Say It Again Network as well.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Justin Baurle. It's just my name. No periods, no underscores or anything like that. I would just follow me on Twitter. I talk about sports on Twitter. On Instagram, I post pictures of my dog and food. So, I mean, I guess if you really want to look at pictures of my dog and my food, then at Baurle13. So that's pretty easy. And then again, the SIA Network on all forms of social media. That's the SIA Network.
Exactly, Justin. Very, very fun. Looking forward to talking more with you, having you on the podcast again. You will be a regular. I know you and Jacob will be more more often. Colts, Pacers, basketball, whatever. You'll be coming on, and then also looking forward to this Sunday. So hopping back on the show again with you guys. Hop on my Facebook page for this one, the Jay Stevens Podcast Facebook page. I'll share the link when I hop on with Justin and Jacob for a preview of the Colts and Bengals. Maybe not as sexy to some listening to this, but the Colts desperately need this win. A lot of y'all see the defense, how great they have played all year. I saw a couple power rankings today. Colts are 15th and 16th in those respective rankings.
They dropped.
Not good at all. Colts are a better team than that. I got to stop saying we instead of the name because when you're hosting a show, you're not supposed to say those things. But I fall into that trap because I've done it so much in my life. Justin, we can talk all day. I got to shut up. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Look forward to Sunday with you, and then also having you back on the podcast down the road.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on today.